Bronx, a Sunoco gas station has installed nozzles that will allow trucks to be filled with biodiesel made from recycled restaurant grease. The biodiesel is being provided by Tri-State Biodiesel, a national company focused on the development of urban-based biodiesel products. And they believe that the use of these sustainable fuels can create a nation that is energy independent. The company seeks to work with urban local developers to work within successful biodiesel projects. Here to tell us more about the state biodiesel is the CEO, Brent Baker, and sales manager, Dehran Duckworth. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk a little bit about biodiesel fuel because I have no idea what that is. So please tell us, tell the viewers.
Sure. Biodiesel fuel is an alternative diesel fuel that can be used in any diesel engine, and it can also be used as heating oil to heat buildings.
And that is compared to the usual type of fuel that we generally use, which is what type of fuel?
Well, we use gasoline and diesel. For our vehicles, a lot of the cars are gasoline. A lot of the trucks, almost all the trucks, buses, things like boats and trains are all diesel fuel, and that's also a petroleum product that comes from crude oil, from the Middle East or wherever, from an oil well. And what we're doing with biodiesel is we're using vegetable oils to replace the crude oil. And we use the vegetable oils to make biodiesel, and that goes right into the diesel equipment. So it's an alternative to petroleum that has less emissions.
Okay, so this is as opposed to somebody just driving, your garden variety, car into a Sunoco, into a station. We're talking about trucks now and commercial vehicles who generally use diesel fuel. Am I correct?
That's absolutely right.
Now, prior to using this economically friendly biodiesel fuel, what types of fuels are they using, and what are the harmful effects to the environment?
You want to?
Yeah.
Well, there's mostly diesel, as Brent said, crude oil-based diesel fuel, which was actually a replacement originally for the vegetable-based fuel that was used originally in diesel engines back when Rudolf Diesel first invented the diesel engine. They were using vegetable-based oils. And then when the oil was discovered and came into the mainstream of the Industrial Revolution and so on, the vegetable oils became replaced with diesel fuel, which has a high level of sulfur content, which is very harmful to the environment, and it also has many hydrocarbons and many particulates that in the end are not good for the environment and for humans, for our atmosphere that we live in.
Okay, so where does the sulfur go? It just kind of goes up into the atmosphere and hangs out? Does it destroy an ozone layer? What are the effects of that sulfur, really?
Well, the main effect is of sulfur oxide and particulate matter, which is manufactured by the sulfur. So these are heavy emissions that can have a health effect and an environmental effect. So you get smog, you get air pollution that actually soils the air from diesel fuel. It's a major pollutant. And with biodiesel, all of those pollutants are reduced.
Now, how did you get involved in this project? What made you decide that this was important to you?
Well, I'm a lifelong environmentalist, and I found out about biodiesel all the way back in 1995 when it was really a good idea in some colleges and backyards with environmental enthusiasts, and some people in the farming industry were just kind of discovering that biodiesel could be used in diesel engines. And so since then I've been promoting the fuel. In 2000 I started doing it professionally by forming a nonprofit organization, and in 2005 we started Tri-State Biodiesel, and the idea of Tri-State Biodiesel was to take this good idea and to bring it to New York City.
No, Dehran, what I want to talk to you about, which is fascinating to me, it seems we're using restaurant grease. How does this work, or where are you getting this types of material to make your oil or your gasoline?
Well, we're recycling from over 3,000 restaurants in New York City. So we have, at this point, we have 6 pump trucks that are constantly circulating the city, picking up anywhere from 20 to 50 gallons from every location, sometimes making 30 stops a day.
And are the restaurants happy to help you, or what do they usually do with their restaurant grease?
Well, a lot of times the grease ends up in the waste stream, which ends up clogging sewers, and they're also facing fines by disposing irresponsibly of the oil. Either that, or it used to be that they could get a few pennies for selling it to glycerin companies making soap and using the oil for glycerin, etc.
All right, Brent, does this seem to be the wave of the future, this type of development, or are you are other people going to catch on to this, or you just so ahead of the curve on
Well, New York is very behind the curve with biodiesel. Biodiesel is pretty broadly used now in the Midwest. States like Iowa, Illinois are are using millions and millions of gallons of biodiesel every year. And here in New York, we just saw legislation get signed that requires the use of biodiesel in all heating oil starting next year, next heating oil season. All heating oil you use will have about 2% biodiesel, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of all of the heating oil used in the city, it's 20 million gallons, which is a huge emission reduction for the city. So this is definitely here to stay, and it's definitely going to be a part of our mainstream fuel mix in America. So we won't just think of gas and diesel now, we'll think of gas and ethanol and diesel and biodiesel and other kinds of fuels as petroleum becomes more scarce and there are better alternatives to petroleum out there. We're going to see more and more of this.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second, because that's what I do. Obviously, this probably raises the costs for manufacturers, for different people who have to use this type of fuel. What do you say to somebody who says, well, it's going to cost me more to make this type of fuel or use this type of fuel?
Right, well, there's a few big misconceptions with biodiesel, and we got to talk about what it is, and one of the other big misconceptions is that it costs more than diesel fuel. So right now at our gas station, we're selling biodiesel blended fuel for less than you can get diesel down the street at the other gas stations.
So it's even cheaper is what you're telling me.
So we're saving our customers money and giving them an environmentally friendly fuel that's better for their drivers. This is a win-win-win right across the board.
Now, I guess the trick, Dehran, is getting the word out to different restaurants who will give you the materials, and also to the different truckers or people who come in who fill up. Am I correct?
Well, there's a disconnect, obviously, between the restaurants and what the oil is being used for at the end. So, from our side, we're offering a free service to restaurants to dispose of what otherwise is a very difficult thing to dispose of with waste management, garbage companies and so on. They don't like to deal with it. So it's a free service that they appreciate. And then on the other side, yes, convincing people to use biodiesel is until it becomes cheaper than diesel fuel, which it currently is, it's a very difficult sell. But the fact is that it is just as good as it's actually better than actual diesel fuel for an existing diesel motor without doing any modifications to the motor whatsoever. The biodiesel works perfectly inside there after the oil has gone through a transesterification process, they call it, which pulls out the glycerin and the waxes out of the oil and turns it into basically the same as the carbon chain as diesel fuel.
Now, we were talking off camera for a second or two about the carbon monoxide poisoning, only because I was going to talk about that today, but we'll do it next week, on the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning. Do you gentlemen have anything you want to add in terms of
Sure.
in terms of that?
Sure. The main reason that I'm a promoter of biodiesel is because it's a massive reducer of all the emissions that are associated with using diesel fuel. So when you use diesel fuel, you're doing a few things. You're putting out local emissions out of your tailpipe. You're putting out carbon monoxide. You're putting out particulate matter, and those things cause health problems. You're also adding a lot more carbon to the environment, which creates carbon dioxide, which creates global warming. So with biodiesel, we're reducing carbon monoxide by about 50% with every gallon. We're reducing carbon dioxide, according to the EPA, by over 80% if it's from waste cooking oil. Over 80% reduction in carbon dioxide. So imagine just changing your fuel and being able to reduce emissions that much.
It looks like, from my point of view, it's a win-win for everybody. Listen, gentlemen, you can promise you're going to come back on the show and we'll talk a little bit about it in the next maybe couple of months. What do you say?
Absolutely.
We would love to. And make sure everybody knows they can go to our website.
Yeah, please give us the information.
TriStateBiodiesel.com, and you can just type in Google Tri-State Biodiesel.
We actually have it up on the screen right now. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you, and I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have you come back.
Thank you.
All right.